Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Chalk Talk, made possible by the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan. My name is Kara Liles, and joining us this week is the DeWitt girls varsity basketball head coach, Coach Bill McCullen. Coach, thanks so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you with us.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Well, you became the 15th girls basketball coach in MHSAA history to reach 500 wins. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
But we want to know.
It's been a crazy weekend so far. So
Absolutely, I can imagine. I want to know, what was it like, going all throughout that game and the clock's winding down. You're at 10 seconds left. What's going through your head? Are you thinking about the 500th win?
Well, I started to figure out that something was being planned when I started to see more and more people showing up at the game, former players. Saw one of my sons come in, and it's not unusual for him to make it to a game, but it was a really bad night on Thursday, and no one should have been on the roads. So when I saw him and some of the older alumni, I knew that they were planning something for post game.
What did that mean to you, to have some of your alum come back to support you in such a big historic moment for you?
Yeah, it was really neat, and it actually went on that night. There were probably about 15 or 16 there, and some from like my first team at DeWitt, going all the way back to '96. The next night, my athletic director Mike Bry put on a little reception for us at the boys' game, and so there were more players, more parents who joined us. There's Mike Bry right there. So it was really cool to see so many of those people in attendance that night and the following night. My oldest son came back, surprised me coming back from Texas. So it was an exciting couple days.
What was the reaction from your team? I know you said it was exciting for you and your family, but what was it like for your girls, helping you get to that moment?
I think they were excited. They looked distracted in pregame. They were a little distracted throughout the game, I thought, and so I figured they knew something was up. And then I've been picking silly string out of my hair and clothes for probably the last few days. Once I walked into the locker room, they let me have it. So. They knew it was coming, and they put together some other presents and things which were really special.
Has this always been something that's on your radar, or were you just coaching because you love basketball?
I've been doing this for a long time, 27 years and counting, and this is my last year teaching, but hope to continue coaching. And when I first started, I don't know as 500 was in the conversation. It was just something that I had always been a dream of mine, and I wanted to go into teaching and start my own program, and was fortunate enough to land in DeWitt, and things have worked out pretty well over the course of many years now.
You mentioned this is your 27th season. Why don't you kind of walk me through your basketball journey and what sort of attracted you to the program at DeWitt?
Yeah, so this is relatively close to my hometown. I grew up in Mason, Michigan, which is just like 25 minutes away from DeWitt. We actually played in the same conference when I was growing up. And I went to Michigan State, which is right in between those two places. So I was very familiar with DeWitt. When I first got a teaching job out of college, I started at Fruitport High School, which is over by Muskegon, and was looking for an opportunity to get back to the Lansing area. And through a couple connections that I actually had through coaching, was put onto the DeWitt job, and it all fell together.
You've been described as fiercely competitive. Where does that come from?
I think some people are surprised by that, because I am pretty mild-mannered on the bench and try to stay as calm as I can, which is my personality, but also there's a fire there, and I think my girls figure out pretty quickly that when the fuse does get lit, I'm serious and I'm focused, and I think it reconnects them sometimes in games that they might have lost it. But I grew up playing basketball. I grew up playing junior tennis as a little kid, and so I've been competing at things for a long time, and it's one of the great things about coaching high school is that once your body can no longer run around out there and do these things, it's a way to still try and stay young and compete.
Do you think your team kind of feeds off your competitiveness? I mean, they have to see it, like you said. Do you think they sort of kind of feed off of what you're giving?
Oh, we've got some self starters in this group, and pretty I would say intrinsically motivated girls that are competitors right from the tip. It doesn't matter who we're playing for them, but they put a lot of time into this. I put a lot of time into this. I mean, I think we all respect one another's efforts, and so they come to play. That's for sure. We've got a scrappy group that's not very big, but we compete.
And it's no secret, I mean, they're successful on the court, but they're just as successful off the court in the classroom. How important are academics to your team?
It's really important, and that's one of our goals every year. We've been able to win the BCAM award for the highest GPA 3 times, and we've been close a couple other times. And they take pride in that. This is I think, a pretty serious academic school where there's a lot of peer pressure on one another to be a good student athlete, and so that's obviously what we stress first and foremost is getting the job done in the classroom.
Well, we're getting down to, the more serious part of the season. We're getting closer to tournament play, all kinds of things like that. And it's a long season, right? And we know team chemistry is so important, but I want to know if you guys do anything special, any sort of team bonding activities to kind of keep that chemistry intact.
One of the things that was so tough about the couple years that were interrupted by COVID is that we weren't able to do a lot of the team building
Yep.
things, and that's been a tradition in our program. Our summer basketball, we travel around a lot. We stay in hotels and have a lot of team get-togethers. Incorporate that and the parents into that sometimes, but a lot of times it's just the kids meeting up for lunch somewhere. And we do a lot of team dinners. We'll watch film and get together at somebody's house to do that sometimes. And then, of course, there's going to be times where they get together and go do some
Yep.
things without the coaching staff, looking over their shoulder, which is even more important.
And like we talked about before, you've had so much success in basketball, and I mean, your teams have had so much success in the classroom. But I want to know if there was a specific moment throughout your coaching journey that stood out to you so far.
Oh, there's been many big ones. The first time we made it to a Final Four, obviously was a big deal for our program, and that's the best record that we've ever had as well. We won our first 25 games and lost a tough one to Flint Powers. But I think people expected us to be there that year. We had Jennifer Smith, who went on to Michigan and led the Big Ten in scoring by the time she was done her senior year. And so there was a lot of pressure on that team, and they lived up to it. The following year, I would say is one of our most exciting seasons. We got back and returned in 2000, and our one returning starter tore her ACL in the summer.
Oh,
And so we went into the season with several kids who had been role players on that previous year, but I don't think the expectations were there. And she actually, about mid-season, made a comeback and helped to lead us back to the semis.
wow.
We had a team in '09 that got to a semifinal as well, and came very close to breaking the school record in wins. both of those teams lost to Country Day. Again, you get to that level and you're playing against such talented teams that you're going to have to really pull one off. But I would have to say, and this is no knock on any of those other teams. In 2015, when we got to the championship game, that 36 hours of just craziness from the build up to the semifinal. We beat Heritage, and then you have all the media responsibilities and things. And we tried to get a team dinner in there and a scouting report on Birmingham Marion, and you're right up the next morning and back at the Breslin Center, and it was all just a blur.
100%.
So exciting. I wish I could go back in time and be able to actually enjoy some of that.
Yep.
But the bonds that were made with that group in particular, I think are amazing, and we still keep very close touch with some of those girls.
Is there a moment you think that you're still waiting to experience?
Every team wants to win their last game, and it's hard to do that. Not very many do. It would be fantastic if we could break through and go all the way at some point in my career. But we've had so many positive experiences with all of our teams, whether they made a run or didn't. Just the relationships that are built with those teams, and just having the connection still to this day with a lot of those kids who are, some of them now in their 40s, that my wife and I still keep in touch with regularly.
That's awesome. And it just goes to show you that it's so much more than basketball. Even in high school, there's so much that goes into it, and you really do, like you said, create those bonds.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention my wife, Denise, today, because I cannot do what I do without someone who's really supporting me at home, and she's been fantastic throughout this. She has taken those girls into our family, and so those relationships extend to her as well. My two sons grew up in this program. They were right there with us, going to camp, sitting on the bench. Ball boys. The girls were their babysitters for years, and both of them have gone into college athletics. Carter first at CMU got an opportunity to lead the managers and then be the video coordinator at CMU for Sue Guevara, and had great success and unbelievable experiences that he was able to have there. His younger brother, Jared, followed in his footsteps, joined him. They overlapped 1 year, and Jared is now the director of basketball operations for the CMU women.
Wow.
And that's something that he took on as an undergrad. He got that job during COVID. So I'm really proud of those guys.
It runs in the family.
It does, yes.
Well, I heard you mention, your wife really brought your team in and has taken them in. And, I heard that you mentioned your program as a basketball family. It's not a team, it's a family. What do you mean by that?
Well, we spend so much time together. And it sounds bad probably to people who are not in this business, but you spend more time with those kids on your team than you do your actual blood relatives.
Yep.
And I think sometimes that seems really weird to people. But if you're going to get into this business is all about kids, and it's all about building relationships and trying to help people improve and build people's confidence and help them become leaders and hopefully move on and do some successful things in their lives. And so it takes a lot of time together to make that happen. And I wouldn't change anything. This is not a career that you're going to get rich in by any means from a monetary standpoint, but the relationships are, so much more important than that.
One last question for you. What are your hopes for the rest of the season?
Well, this group has worked so hard, and I think to a certain degree they've surprised some people and they've kind of overachieved. We're 18-2 going into tonight's game. We have 2 league games left, and if we can win them both, we can get a share of a league. Next week starts the state tournament. I really want these kids to be able to experience what a championship team is like, and we haven't been able to win our league or district or regional since 2019, and so these kids were young. They were watching that. Some of them were actually the water girls on that team, and some of those other teams that had all that success. And I really want them to be able to experience that for their own group.
Alrighty, Coach. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today. That wraps up this edition of Chalk Talk. For more information on the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan and to nominate a coach for Coach of the Week, simply visit bcam.org. Thanks so much for chatting with us again, Coach, and good luck the rest of the season.
All right. Thanks a lot. We'll see ya.